Okay, well,
Everyone.
as we get started here, I just want to welcome everybody to our my first, I guess, formal
personal tour.
Habatat Now and direct Zoom, and we'll hope people will join us as time goes by. And I'm honored to have you all, and I hope you guys have enjoyed the Glass48 presentation so far.
Yep.
Good feedback and energy, and it's been absolutely great, and we're super blessed to have all you guys part of our family here at Habatat. So this is going to be a little more laid back than the last talk I gave when I kind of was going to town talking to the screen. I picked out some beautiful works for us to look at for the start of the presentation. There's going to be some video that you can enjoy as well.
Aaron, you might want to mute everybody's microphone.
All right.
Except mine.
especially birds.
Well, there you go. I learned the shorthand for that. You're welcome to unmute yourselves at any time. I prefer that. Hey, Sydney, how are you? So I prefer you guys enjoy this little adventure with me as we travel down this little glass lane we're going down. So I'm going to start the presentation and take over the screen. And I look forward to, everybody unmuting themselves at their leisure because I want to make sure people can enjoy. I'm going to unmute Tim because he's always good at talking, and unmute Ferd. And then I'm going to unmute Corey, and anybody else that wants to unmute themselves is welcome to. So let me know if you're seeing a full screen of a picture of me or if you're seeing a screen of my PowerPoint presentation.
We're seeing you. We're seeing you perfect screen.
Okay, good. I'm on the wrong presentation. So let me switch gears real quick and open up the better presentation, which is the one I'm going to be giving today. And we'll start it now. So obviously everybody has seen the Glass48 website by now and had a chance to peruse the and
I see Ferd. Ferd, you look good.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
This is we welcome everybody here. Thank you so much. We want to make sure you guys have seen the website. There's more to come as this website is going to be have more content added daily. A lot of artists that couldn't get their work together have been slowly getting presentations together, adding video content. So feel free to time at your favorite artists, and we're going to be posting on social media. We've asked Sydney Hutter, who's with us today, to participate down the road when he's ready, and a few other artists can't get to their studios, but throughout the summer, this should be really fun for everybody to explore and join us. Like last time, I'm going to start off with a sold piece. This is Kate Rhodes. This piece is a monumental piece. It's totally inspired by the sea and by the ocean forms. And this piece sold directly out of the artist studio to a client. I believe they were in Florida. And Kate Rhodes just shipped it right to them. It's already on their wall. So I wanted to let everybody know that the works that people are acquiring can go out, irrelevant of today's what's going on today, because our staff is available and the artists are available to make sure that you can receive anything that you want. And it's a really an amazing thing in today's world.
I'm not seeing your screen though, Aaron.
I'm not seeing it.
You're not seeing the screen?
You haven't shared it.
No.
Share the screen.
Let me go back to share. All right. There we go. Can you see it now?
There we go. Thank you. Now you got it.
Yeah.
Let me go back then. You can see what I skipped through already to get to here.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
So this is the piece by Kate Rhodes, and then there's another one that is available, which I wanted to share. Thank you for letting me know, Tim. This is another piece by Kate, another wall installation piece, another monumental one that she put together. And it's
How big are they?
It's written on top. Can you see it on your phone? Probably you.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I do
Very
see
nice.
it.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
Last time I put the dimensions on the bottom. This time I put them on top. People can get an idea. Debbie?
Aaron, the pieces are on the left, and they're small screen, and then there's like a
Thank you for letting me know.
blank.
I will switch the screens. Thank you.
It needs to be bigger, I think.
Yep, you're 100% right. Let's try
Thank you.
this. Is that better?
Yeah, baby. That's it.
Much better.
Yeah.
Thank you, darling.
I'm getting
Now
used
we
to
can
Zoom
see the
here.
price, the
Wow.
size, everything.
Everything.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Gorgeous piece. Gorgeous.
Yeah.
I'll show you the previous one on a larger screen. You can kind of see what the green one looks like.
Bring it over there.
Looks like
And
the
then-
sea, doesn't it? Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are beautiful.
Yeah.
So this one is still available, and the other one looked unbelievable on the white wall that was installed on.
It's a wall piece. It's gorgeous.
Kaczynski. Many people have seen the studio tour, a demonstration that was online. I saw it on Facebook. It was a real amazing thing to see Toots create and how she does with her multiple kilns and the kilns that come down. So if you haven't seen that, let me know. I'll send you the link. But it is an amazing process she has, and we're honored to have her at the show. A lot of people like her work when it's multicolored. She's obviously been dabbling in single colors for a while now, but she's also really great to work with on commission. We had a commission with her that didn't work out, and Toots told us that she wanted to make sure the client was happy, and she made a new piece within a couple of weeks, and boom, the client was super happy with the secondary piece. So she's a great artist to work with all around.
Aaron, before you leave, you know, she's one of the few artists that actually manipulate the glass hot. So when she fuses her process called fillet d'oeuvre, the process of which she created and invented sometime in the late 70s, early 80s. And she goes in after she heats the piece up and manipulates the rim of the piece with gloves, and then heats it back up to create that wonderful form that you see here.
Yeah, it is. It is an amazing process. I just spoke to Irene on the phone. She might be online with us. Irene, are you here? Unmute yourself if you are. We'll see if she gets around to doing that. I asked her on the phone to help me discuss this new series she's working on, and this is called She Still Loves Us Water. And Irene told me that this is about Mother Earth and about her relationship with us as humans, that no matter what happens, she still loves us. And you can see that above, on the bottom part of the picture, there's a little town-esque village down there, and she's going through turmoil with, looks like maybe a little bit of motion above, wind or tornado, but all in all, that Mother Earth, the Mother Gaia, I guess we would call it, still loves us. And this is a very powerful piece. It's all made from recycled glass, as if she's giving back. And I'm a big fan of Irene's work, and she's a great person to work with. And if anybody's any thoughts, feel free to jump in anytime.
Almost like Murano down below.
Yeah, it does. Little village. Davide. So Davide is in Murano. Speaking of Murano, working hard out there. He created this installation piece, which is multiple panels that overlap each other. And this is going to be new for our PowerPoint presentation. I have a video of Davide that I'm going to try to play, and I hope the audio works. If I can figure out how to make it work. Let's see.
Hi, welcome to the Habatat Direct. I am Davide Salvatore. In this difficult moment, I close my fire, but I start to make something different, and I start to play with my plate. But I needed to put something more for it to be perfect for this moment. Sorry. Very soon in the Habatat Gallery.
So that was his.
That's great.
Shared for this particular installation piece. Gave us for the show.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Amazing. Gorgeous.
I'm going to jump past that, and then we're going to Martin Blank. Martin's lotuses, we're all familiar. They are stunning. This particular one is just absolutely colorful,
Beautiful.
unique appearance to it. Usually these are one or two colors, sometimes silver and white. It has a variety of tones to it. And this is at his studio right now. Martin is, I've known Martin for a long time. He's a super amazing artist. He's done installation works of all sizes and shapes, and many of you have met him. And I can tell you a million stories about him. I'm sure you all have your own. We love Martin, and we love his work.
He invented that color, that blue color that you see there, on a commission that I have currently going with him. He's been working on it for the last year consists of 50 objects, the largest one weighing close to 250 pounds. The installation is going to be about 50 feet wide by 9 feet high. And he mixed a number of blues as cobalt oxide to create this almost like turquoise-like color that you see in the middle, but he has not used that color in his glass before. So he's starting to use that color that he has been experimenting with some of his other objects.
That's great. I didn't know that. It's a brand new color from the artist. Wow.
Is that, Aaron, do you know if that's a wall piece, or I guess it could be on a pedestal also?
Right now it's designed for pedestals, as most of his lotuses are.
Okay.
Technology today, it could be mounted to a wall. Martin's always up for a challenge, for sure.
Absolutely.
I have another commission with Martin where he's cantilevering a piece. Really interesting. He's created a metal pedestal using the metal fabricators that he's used to make pedestals over the years to have it cantilever over and just suspended with one little pole coming down. So they can be wall pieces. He can mount those. He's got they have the technology to do that, but he's trying to minimize the base to make it feel like it's just floating. But obviously with the weight, it's kind of difficult. But with that one little pole coming down, hopefully I can get an image of that for another Zoom.
That'd be great, Corey. Bohemot Ilyich Sr. Many of you are familiar with Ilyich Jr. and Ilyich Sr., obviously his father, is the more well-known. Maybe Ferd can tell us a little bit more about Sr. Ferd, are you around?
Yes, I am. Yeah. Yeah, he was one of the most innovative artists working in the Czech Republic, and always so excitable and so interested in what he was making and sharing it with people. He passed away, geez, it has to be 10 years or more. And his son was quite young at the time, but started working. And at first his work looked just like his father's. But now as time has evolved, he's really coming into his own as, for being an artist.
Thank you, Ferd. And his prices are still pretty reasonable, and they are just stunning. And I see his work a lot at museums, especially in Florida, down for Sarasota. You can see his work, and they're just wonderful pieces. James, are you online today with us?
Yeah, I'm online. I'm here.
All right, cool. James LeVold has joined us to talk about his work. I put two in for you to talk about. James, if you want to jump in here. James, you there?
Yes, unmute.
I'm unmuted now. Yes.
All right.
So yeah, both these pieces are done with a hot blow mold process. So they look a lot like castings, but they're actually blown into hot molds. So they still have that high level of detail you'd see on a casting, but a lot less weight. And they all start out as wax assemblages, and I find all these different objects and then manipulate them in wax and sort of develop my collages before molding them and turning them into glass. So
they're quite stunning. And James made some amazing videos that are on his Glass48 page if you want to check them out and learn more about his new, he just moved recently, right, James, into a new?
Yeah, I just moved into a new studio a little bit before everything shut down. So that was a little bad timing, but I'm making it work now. But yeah, initially I was half moved in and then not allowed to move anymore. So
I understand. Well, these are
getting
great.
settled.
Can you process? I mean, your inspiration for some of these pieces. I see a hand with an eye in it.
Yeah, I'm really fascinated by like mythology and history, and there's a lot of political, like contemporary, current events in these as well. Like this continues to be in the ruins was really inspired a lot by some of the debate going on around gun violence, and specifically the Parkland students who really came together sort of as a David and Goliath to take on some larger forces. I just think they were like a really inspiring movement. But this is more around like ideas of the invisible hand of the market, which, you know, I always find to be an interesting sort of like mystical term that made its way into economics and those discussions. So, and, you know, I just like take these images and sort of remix them to make my own analysis of these sort of mythologies and histories and how those narratives mix together.
Well, thank you, James. We're going to be working with James in an upcoming exhibition and a catalog soon. So check out his work on Glass48, and we look forward to sharing more and more of his work with you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, Aaron.
All right, we got this husband and wife team work with another husband and wife team in Denmark, and I had the fun time of Googling where they live in Denmark, and they live near Sweden, right on the water, and they're heavily inspired by Norse mythology. I learned recently that they all have their own style of artwork, and this particular series is the work they work on together, which we've been promoting. And they're very peaceful pieces. There's a lot of cold working that's done on the sides of the boats, and they are just absolutely beautiful. You can stare at one of these all day, and yeah, I really, really love the work.
They live right by the Habatat Museum. So if you're ever in that part of, in the middle of nowhere in Denmark, you're probably in Habatat.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, the vessels are cut. So it's essentially a vessel very similar to the way Lino makes his gondolas, where he cuts into the surface of the piece to create a bowl-like shape, form, a vessel, so to speak. Uh-oh, yeah, crying kids, hold on.
Thank you, Corey. Vladimir Klumpar, she is a master glass woman. She worked with Lebinsky and Braktova, and she's very, very involved with form. She has a lot of different styles of work out there, but she's all of them are a master class in casting. You probably have seen her work at the International for years in Chicago, and I just wanted to share one of her pieces with everybody today. This one's called Black Swan. Kind of resembles a horn. I've had a lot of personal experiences with her and her work over the years, and I am a big fan. Jen, are you around? Are you here today? I take that as a
yes, I am. I'm here.
Oh, Jen, how are you?
Good. How are you?
And I'm glad you could join us. Could you tell us a little bit about your work? I know we talked about it yesterday, but since you're here.
All right. Well, thanks for inviting me. So I started as a printmaker, and a lot of my work is either inspired by drawings or photographs that I take. And where I live, or I just moved to, like James, where I moved or live in my studio, it's looking right at the Ben Franklin Bridge. So I get to see that every day, which is a really inspiring space. So I decided to do a piece based on travel with this piece. On the edges are all hand carved wax pieces. And they kind of are a narrative around the actual image of what the screen print is. So you'll see like a little family going on a vacation. We actually, growing up, I grew up with those cars, and we would go on these long vacations without air conditioning, and during the summer, and in Italy, and as well as in the US. So I guess it was a personal touch with this piece. And I'm not sure what else did we talk about, Aaron?
Basically, that you studied.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I have a very amazing family, very educated, and they inspired me. My mom worked at a place called the Renwick for many years and is a art historian. So I studied art history in undergrad along with photography and printmaking. And so a lot of my work is inspired by Renaissance art history, especially on the edges of the frames are kind of like a narrative that are either foreboding or it's talking about the what has just passed. So it's like a mini glimpse into what is about to happen as well with the pieces. So there's that component. And Aaron?
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us. I appreciate it. And you can see that the frames are relevant to the artwork inside, and they are just very, very they draw you right in. Thank you so much, Jen.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. This is Peter Borkovic's work from Hungary. Peter makes some amazing things, and my story I tell Phil about his work is that I asked him one time, how do you do it? How do you give such motion to your fused creations? And he completely ignored my question and never got back to me. So I usually tell people that he takes a Maxwell House can and puts it into his mold and twists it and pulls the can out, because I don't know how he creates his work. They're just amazing, beautiful, wondrous treasures. And you've seen his work in person, some of them have gold and silver, some have wording inside, and he's just at the top of his game. And he made a great video for Glass48 that I recommend everybody check out too, because it's a great glimpse into the artist. It is subtitled, but we can do that, I believe, nowadays.
I was in his studio in Budapest about 5 months ago actually now, and I got a chance to see. And Aaron, you're absolutely right. It's like a Maxwell can that he sticks into the surface.
I knew it.
Yes, he does. That's exactly what he does. And it's not quite a Maxwell can, but it is the smallest studio I've ever seen in my life. And it's just him. There's nobody else. And so he carefully focuses on each object. Each object's like a child to him. He only produces about 7 to 12 pieces a year. And so he does all the grinding, all the polishing. He doesn't send anything away whatsoever, including, so, I mean, it's amazing to watch him work, because literally he's grinding on his grit wheel, and then he turns around, like literally 180 degrees, and he's got his a carving station right next to him. It's just like zip, 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 one-man assembly line, but it takes him a long time to make each piece.
Right, that's great. He's heavily inspired by nature, and especially water. So you can kind of feel that in every single one of his works. Thank you, Corey. Oh, Jen Valletta, are you here?
I saw her.
I am.
All
Hi, I
right.
just unmuted myself.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about After the Rain?
Yes. Hi. Well, I live in rural Vermont. I'm very inspired by nature and springtime and like the rebirth. This piece has a lot to do with blooming cherry blossom trees and apple blossoms and just kind of everything that's just about to start bursting into color here in Vermont. We're a little behind this year in spring, but we have tons of birds. We have 3 acres of land, and I do a lot of gardening, and we have a river on one side of our property and a creek on the other, and there's just a lot of bird traffic of all different varieties that come through. So I'm highly inspired by the birds and just the sounds that they chatter amongst themselves every morning. It's really cool. And these pieces are all hot sculpted glass. So I'm gathering up glass out of the furnace, and I'm actually cutting them and shaping them using tweezers and shears. And there are a lot of glass powders that I use on the surfaces of the pieces. Like on this particular piece, I pre-make all the little flowers off the end of a punty rod. So I'm like hot sculpting all the little flowers. I put those in a separate kiln, and then I sculpt each branch separately. I'm pulling it and shaping it off the end of a blowpipe basically, but it's all solid glass. And then I'm picking up each individual little preheated flower out of the kiln and using a torch and sort of fusing it into the branch exactly where I want it. And that's kind of how they're assembled. And then my husband actually is a very talented metal sculptor, and he creates all these beautifully fabricated stands for my pieces. And his workshop is just on the other side of my studio wall, so that was pretty handy. And he's so great at like getting them to fit. So metal components to fit so gracefully around the branches. You know, it's almost, and the pieces fit in and out of there so simply. You know, and it's really nice, clean, and kind of adds to the aesthetic of the piece. So lucky to have him help me out.
That's great, Jen. Well, thank you so much. Jen's work is very.
Thanks, Aaron.
You're welcome. Jen's work is very, very peaceful and serene. We've worked on commissions with her as well, and they're such easy pieces to live with and bring people joy. Thank you, Jen.
Thanks a lot, Aaron.
Lachazar Boyajev's work. I showed a different piece in the last show I did with the ACG, and I just wanted to show another one. Lachazar is an unbelievable talent, and there's a video of him on our Glass48 page of his process from start to finish, where he's using drawings and then he's using plaster of Paris all the way through to the casting of the actual glass. How many people in the room own a Lachazar Boyajev piece? I'd love to know.
I do.
Yep, I'm definitely one too. So
We do.
yeah, that's great.
We do.
I want to.
Yeah, we do. We do.
We want to. I like it.
We do, but we have a Jen Violetta as well.
That's great. That's great. Great. Well, I'm glad it's a hell of a commercial for the artist. So I'm super grateful for that. All right, people, make sure to mute yourselves when you're done talking, please. Thank you. Vivian Wang, she should be on here, but she might not want to talk, so I'm going to talk for her. Vivian, obviously, making this new body of work called The City Kids. We've done quite well with it, and we've sold a few pieces from it, and there are a couple left. But this is one of them that's left. She, in the meeting I said before, in the ACG meeting, I mentioned that she lowered her price as of this show for these pieces from $17,800 to $14,800. And these particular works are about the clothing that she wanted to wear as an American child when she came to America when she was young. She came to America when she was probably 3 years old, and her family couldn't really afford the luxurious clothes at the time, and that feeling has never left her. And so this new work is about kids wearing the clothes that she always dreamed of wearing as a youth. And her colors are so vivid. The next one is red.
Look at that.
And you'll see a variety of these on Glass48. And she made a very cute video, which I'll show you now that people have said that they love, so I might as well and show it to you at this moment. So here it comes.
Hello, this is Vivian Wang, and this is where I work in the main house. My studio is elsewhere. We will continue to my studio later. This is the actual space I work in. And this is where I sculpt and paint and sketch. That's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
And those are that kind of video is very endearing, and it's very, very fun. There's another video of her studio that her assistant did. You can see on Glass48. It's much longer, but worth checking out.
Do you know that she was a fashion designer for 20 years in New York?
It's amazing news, yeah.
And which is like the Harvard for fashion design. And, yeah. Also, she also attended University of Michigan. So she did that for, I believe, about a year or so before she moved to New York.
Gotcha, thank you. All right. Part of the Habatat family has been here for, I would say, 35 years or more. That is Emily Brock, and she makes such beautiful things. I could say this also about people who own her work. A lot of people do. A lot of people have enjoyed them for years, and we're still representing her and supporting her career. And people discover new details about her pieces every time they walk by. A napkin on the floor, a spoon in the sink. Corey's got a great story about how he got one for his bar mitzvah. You want to tell us a little bit about it, Corey?
I do. But right now we're working on her catalog raisonné, which is her entire career. And she has completed over 700 works.
Wow.
Incredible. A lot of them being commissions that were done. You had different businesses, perhaps in the past, or a place in your house that you really enjoyed, let's say a reading room. She really loves to get involved with different clients working on different commissions. But the piece that I got was kind of a surprise. When I was 13, for my bar mitzvah. Most people get like a watch or like a really nice pen. It's my present, a pen, and I ended up getting an Emily Brock, and Ferd and my mother had commissioned Emily, took pictures of my bedroom, which, believe me, I was a very, very messy child. I mean, under the bed, I had clothes coming out of the drawers. It was my room was a wreck. But just to really rub it in my face, he took all these pictures and sent them to her, and she made this disastrous 13-year-old room, which I stare at on a daily basis. Now it's in our house, it's in my children's room, and I have a glass case, and I know that they look at it because those plexiglass cases have fingerprints all over them. So I know that they sit there really amused by it. But.
Hey, Ferd, my birthday's coming, and you can adopt me. Still time.
I'm still thinking about it, Tim.
Okay, keep that under your hat.
Very fun. Dean Allison, he is probably one of the most talented artists that work in the humanoid form that we offer. He can work from molds now, too. Many of you have seen his work where he takes a casting of somebody and creates that person out of glass. He's going to be a very important part of the future of glass art. His wife just gave birth, excuse me, to a baby daughter at the end of April, so his hands are full right now. But it's an amazing work by him, and I own a piece of his in my personal collection that I actually won in a raffle, believe it or not. And I love him and his work. He's a great guy, and he did a limited edition. You can see too on Habatat Limited, different body of work, different style. But we're here to support our artists any way we can, and I hope you guys enjoy this piece. Here we go. This is
Who's
Tim
this?
and Kate Elliott, and I saw them both.
Tim and Kathleen Elliott. So, Kathleen, I'll let you jump on here in a minute with me too. A lot of you know that nature informs a lot of my work because I'm a student of Pinland for many years, and my work tends to be very loudly colored and kind of a very different feel than COVID gives us now. So I wanted something as calming as could possibly be related to nature, and I remembered Kathleen Elliott, who makes the most beautiful nature glass pieces around. So I called her up and said, "You want to do a piece together?" Kathleen, you're on, babe.
Yes, absolutely want to. Yeah, we both really wanted to produce a really calming, peaceful piece for people to contemplate. It's such a crazy, crazy world that we're in right now. So that's what this is about.
Someone sent me a note saying, "Wait, could one, tree or one plant have that many alterations?" And I said, "Well, everything you see past the first image is only in your mind. It's only in your head. It's not really there. And so those spaces do not exist in any physical reality. We can give them any properties we wish. And in our world, yes, they can have many flowers and many types of fruits."
Yep.
It's a beautiful piece, Tim. I love the frame too.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I put a soft wooden frame on that to kind of knock back that hard metal that I normally use. So.
Yeah.
All right, we have some people online too who can tell us about their work. You guys there?
Yes, we are.
All right, guys. Ekin and Josh, take it away.
Hi there. This is Josh Davids and me, Ekin Aytaç. Thank you for having us today. We are joining from Kalamazoo, Michigan. Yeah.
So these pieces we call our Cityscape series. And they are, I guess, we kind of gravitate towards the cityscapes because we see the city and where we've been throughout our lives as kind of meeting grounds and places from which we kind of build meaning and tell stories.
And we've met through traveling, and we are still traveling. We're still moving, and our inspiration started that way. And now we're writing on these pieces, telling our own stories, but also individual story with each piece. And reaching out.
Yeah, and I think these things are really exciting. We start in the hot shop and we blow these forms there, so there's a nice kind of soft, I guess, quality to them, and then we come back into the cold shop and cut them down, and so there's that, I guess, multiple or the dichotomy between the very soft blown forms and the very hard edge cut lines. That makes a really, really dynamic sculpture.
Those are blown, actually, bubbles that are squished flat. So there's two sides in each piece. In the cold shop, we cut the edges with diamond tools, and then, of course, finish them up, bevel them up, and then we tape them and we start designing the surface work. So the masking and drawing and telling the story on the surface comes along, and then we aim to rebuild some layers. So sandblast comes and we finish up the pieces that way.
Eakin, someday we'd like to hear how Eakin ended up in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I'm sure we'll find that.
Yes, that's a long story.
Another over drinks.
Yes.
Excuse me, what does the back of this look like? And how is it?
Do you have a picture, Aaron?
I can see what I can do. Go ahead and describe it.
It does have geometrical patterns on the other side of it. So it is.
So
what do you have?
Yeah, these are basically meant to be viewed in the round. They are kind of squashed bubbles, but each side has its own face and its own city, separate from each other. And as we're working with them, we hope the light starts to interact as it passes through.
Yeah, you can see through them.
So, oh, I see.
So they're 3-4 inches wide from the side, mostly, and they do layer on top of each other. And from different angles, you do see a lot of different shades and shapes on top of each other.
So there's this.
Okay, so some of the imagery you see is the back.
Yes. This is the other side of the 01.
Beautiful.
Are those completely sandblasted?
Yes.
The main part is sandblasted?
Well, we do mask some surface. So the 01, both actually 01 and Far, Far Away, the two that are shown, the very top layer is not sandblasted. So there is a little bit of luminescence and iridescence with the glass. So very polished feel, and then underneath is that kind of super warm sandblasted color.
But the actual edges, like the building tops and everything, is that done with a saw or done with the sandblaster?
It is done with the saw, finished with the sandblasting.
Wow. Amazing.
Are they
How
on
many
a
hours?
stand?
How many hours go into something
There's
like
Are they
that?
on a stand?
A lot of hours. Each piece is a really long journey. We start in the hot shop, take it to the cold shop for hours for cutting, and then take it to our silent studio. We start drawing on it for days, and then when we complete surface, we take it to the sandblaster for hours of work there, and then go back to it if we need to, or sometimes we second time layer the masking tape and sandblast one more time. So
How are the pieces mounted?
They actually stand. Yeah, there's you can kind of see on the bottom of that photo right there. There's a little band, and they've been flattened, and they stand.
Yep. Thank you.
Is there space? Is there space between the front and the back?
Yes. There's few inches space.
How tall is it with the stand? I really can't see the stand.
It's no stand. It's like a circle, basically a circle bubble that is 14 inches by 14 inches. So,
and what does the stand add to it?
There is no stand.
On itself, it's freestanding piece.
So if you see the bands
Standing on the glass?
Yes, if you see the bands on the top and on the right, there's a big thick band on the bottom that holds it.
Oh, it's a glass base.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
It's attached to the piece. It's actually part of the piece. There is no part that's removable. So when you pick the piece up, you're picking up the band on the bottom and setting it back down, somewhat flat to make sure the piece doesn't move.
So about how much would you say it weighed?
Not very heavy.
4 or 5 pounds, not much.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
However, when the stand, if the piece is 14 by 14 and the stand comes down, how long is it when you add, how high is it when you add the stand to the 14 round bubble?
I'll jump in here. It's still 14. The stand, forget about the stand. Imagine there's no stand. Imagine the piece has a base, like you're picking up Lebinsky. So the actual base of it is part of the 14. 14 by 14, including the part it mounts on. So imagine you're putting down a bag. The bottom of that is just the bottom of the piece.
Could you once more turn around and show us the back of each one?
Switch gears here in
This
the back.
was
So
the bubble that they put together and carved.
So this is 01 from the back, and on the side you can see the depth between the piece. You can see the side, and this picture's a little bit brighter. You can see the band on the bottom, and this is we can see in the slideshow, and then on the angle. Luckily, the artist
side.
Great shot, so we can really.
It's a great piece.
You can see the bottom band there as well.
And this is a cityscape.
Yep.
They've all carved that, hand carved it.
And I'll quickly show the other one, which is called Far, Far Away. And you can get an idea of the depth and the carving of the work too.
Wow, I like that.
Thank you
Do you
guys.
have
I
a
appreciate
picture of
that.
the back of that, Aaron?
I do not. I think it was one of those photos, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
The front right here
Yes.
with the blue center. And this is the back right here with the clear.
Center.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Thank you guys so
Thank
much.
you for having us.
Any more questions for them, anybody?
Yeah, how long have you been doing the cityscape? Is this brand new or what?
Well, when we began working, we both kind of were making cityscapes in our own fashion, but then we really started collaborating on this body of work. I think
Year.
Yeah,
It's
just
a
over
year old.
And they've done
Year, you said?
Yes, and Aaron, Habitat is the only one we have, big gallery that we have shown this piece with.
And there's some
Thank you.
still available on Glass48. We look forward to seeing what they create in the future, but they are still. Thank you guys.
I'm really interested in that.
Deanna Clayton's work, people know her. She's been around for a while. We had the vessel forms in the ACG presentation, which you can see online, but I wanted to show her humanoid forms.
I'm really interested in that.
These works take about 30 firings to complete, believe it or not. And each work is a monumental effort on her part. She made 2 for our show. One's blue and one is red. And they're just both so easy on the eyes and just beautiful. Robert Complage from Australia, or Austria, thank you. And these are usually inspired by nature and by current events. He did a whole series a while ago about the hurricanes we had. If you love color, you're gonna love Robert Complage's work. They're just so substantial. And this is his newest series where he creates The Ring. And he made a video about this piece on Glass48. And it's nice to see some artists adapting and taking their style to a new level. And I find this ring style very, very impressive.
You get the price and everything.
Marlena Rose's work. Corey, do you want to talk about Marlena Rose?
On this call?
Yeah, just right now about Marlena.
Oh. Okay. Well, she went to school and studied under Gene Koss, which is in Louisiana. She at the time was learning how to blow glass, and there's very few Americans that were sand casting glass. You had Howard Bentrey, you had Jose Chartier, believe it or not, who was dabbling in it at the time. but very few people, and no women at all. And so she really, learned this technique, and then moved to Florida with her husband Thomas. And she would go into studios and say, "Hey, I'm interested in sand casting," and they would blow her off. Nobody wanted to work with her. They didn't understand the process, number one. But number two, she's like this 80-pound girl going into this hot shop with these sweaty men that are dirty and have been doing, this, working on grit wheels and on a furnace. And, this was, in the 80s, and they were looking at her like, "Are you crazy? You're going to be working with us?" And finally, she came across a guy by the name of Chuck Volks, who's got a studio here in town. And she said, "I just want to show you what my plan is, my ideas." And she said, just give me 1 hour." And within 1 hour, they prepped these molds and started pouring these African faces. And he knew right then that she's going to be with him for the next 30 years. And it's the work that they created from that very first just pouring was work that was so innovative, work that has not been shown and not been done in glass as far as Chuck ever saw. So he immediately asked her, and they teamed up where she uses his studio to cast glass out of. And, of course, her inspiration at the time was African work. It's changed to, work from Asia. And then now she's kind of gone back to Africa and then throughout India with this new hand. But she's one of the few women still that are sand casting glass in the United States. And she's finally, after all these years, has gotten international recognition and national recognition. And I believe was on the news regarding in a slot where they pick up artists like Damien Hirst and Jeff Koons, and they decided to interview her for using this very unusual technique to cast glass. And this particular piece is quite beautiful. That cobalt blue again. I love it's all the color. It's clear glass, but the color is in the powdered frit where the clear glass is poured into. And you can see around the edges of the piece how clear it gets when the light penetrates this particular cobalt force, which is a beautiful piece. And she's, a very lovely human being as well. I wish she was here because she and Thomas are like, they're just really passionate people, and passion is very catchy. So, they're a good duel to get to know. And if you don't have one in your collection, I highly suggest it.
Thank you, Corey. Great stuff. Oh, here we come to Steve Lynn. Steve, I know you're on the line. I incorporated your video. If you want to talk, you're welcome to.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. This piece is called 4 Sketches on Dances by Alvin Ailey. It's based on choreography that he himself did for the Ailey Company. The 4 dances are Pas de Duke, which is an homage to Duke Ellington. Jazz Suite on the bottom. Revelations, which is a famous piece for the entire company, and Cry, which was a solo done for Judith Jamison. My work in general is narrative. It tells stories. It honors people who I believe have done amazing things in the world of art, science, humanities, etc. This is a rather intimate work for me. Normally my work is very large, and I am particularly interested in public space, although I do make pieces for private collections and private homes. This piece here is an homage to Joseph Beuys, who is a German artist who was part of the Fluxus movement and was known for happenings, and he's a very eclectic artist. He worked a lot in felt. So the background, the gray background that you see there is a 3/4 inch industrial felt. It's cut out in the form of his person, and then a sandblasted carved glass over life-size head emerges from that. At the bottom is an aluminum sled, which I fabricated which is part of his personal survival history. The wooden hat was his signature, and the little seedling was part of a piece called that he did at Documenta 7 in Germany. And the piece was called 7,000 Oak Trees, and he got a bunch of people together in a participatory piece, and they planted 7,000 oak seedlings. And so I tried to tell his story as best I could with the elements of his career and his life. And when I make a piece, I don't know if many of you, recently I've been posting from a challenge by Peter Bremer's, I'm on day 7 now of 10, pieces that have spanned my career, more or less, from the early 1970s, and we're now moving closer to recent work. And what I do is documentary sculpture. I tell stories through elements of people's lives and their work, and try to bring an interest in my interests. So when I choose a subject, it's somebody that I'm interested in. I've done an enormous number of commissions, and that becomes a subject where the client and my interests coincide. And in that regard, we do a piece that not only coincides with an idea, but a space, a budget, etc. Anybody have any questions?
I do.
Islands.
Steve, can you hear me?
Yep.
Myra, is your piece on Kara Walker still available?
Yes, it is.
Okay, just want to keep that in mind. Thank
Okay.
you.
I know we talked about that before, but
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate the insight. And Steve gave us a studio tour as well on Glass48. Get a glimpse into his life and his beautiful surroundings. So please check him out there too. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
Another side shot of the piece as well. Everybody's favorite artist, Laura Donifer, created 2 pieces for our show. They have both sold. She's sold out. I saw on Facebook she was thinking about retiring. We sold her work, so she is not retiring, which is great. She makes some beautiful things, and people have them in their collections. I have my personal Laura Donifer right here. I brought to keep me company during COVID and hanging out with you guys today. And so Sarah and I have that to enjoy, and I'm sure many of you too do as well.
Hello.
Anybody have a question about Donifer? Okay. Katerina Urata Weintraub. So we sold out of her work during the show. We had 3 pieces available. All of them were rabbit themed. We had some of these similar in our show in Sarasota, our Splash show. And they are very, very fun pieces that she makes on the edge of with torch work. And you can watch a video she put together for us, especially on Glass48. And we're excited about her work, especially the fact that people seem to like it, and we have some interesting plans scheduled for her in the future. Someone to keep your eye on, very easy to live with and fun stuff.
Aaron, do you have any images of any other older works, perhaps work that's sold or something like that? Because she's a very interesting artist, and a lot of people just pass her right by, but almost every piece that she has created has almost knocked me out of my seat. I can't even, like, so creative and so versatile in materials and techniques, from casting to lamp working. But every one of them, I think, is just, very clever, very clever. And so I'd really like to just show maybe a broader idea of something else that she has created for people to really get a grasp.
I don't know if I have much here. I can take a quick look for you, Corey, and see if I can find anything real quick. Most of the stuff we have for her is on probablyhabitat.com, but I will look and get there. Here we go. And the answer is no. So we'll have to have people check this out later and send put more images up of her work.
It's a reason to tune in next week.
Tune in next week. For sure. The mice work she made that we've seen in the past is also stunning stuff. One to keep your eye on. Siegler, this is another good one for Corey. It's an amazing Czech Republic.
I mean, I was fortunate for the past 3 years to visit Siegler in his home. He is 90 years old, and he has created some of the most incredible works that I've ever seen. What's amazing is I'm going into his house not as someone to acquire artwork, because believe me, there's nothing there except for all these old books and sketchbooks that he's been working on for the last 70 years. And so we sat and we've spent hours looking at these books, and his ideas in his brain, I mean, he's working at 90 years old, he's working really fast, and he's able to, he's got these ideas for these architectural, installations where he's taking over entire, I need 100 yards right here for one installation. And he's taking over enormous areas and he's sketching them down. And then he created a series of prints based on those architectural ideas. So I left, came back 6 months later, and he has an exhibition in Prague Castle. Not just an exhibition, those exact ideas that he had sketched down, you can walk through the castle and see and feel the installation. He works a lot like Richard Serra, even though this egg shape doesn't feel that way, where it's not just about the piece, it's about the feeling that you have and the experience you have going throughout the piece. Or when you first look and you walk into a James Trudell and you look up and you see the open space and the light and how it hits it. These are the ideas that go through his head on a daily basis. He also has designed a wristwatch, I didn't know, that was in production. He did jewelry, which was in production. The man has designed and created so many objects and had so many ideas in his career. And I have no idea, other than these ancient Czech sketchbooks, of which he has worked on over the last, like I said, 60, 70 years or so. And so what an amazing treat. The piece you see here is a uranium egg. So us as glass lovers are drawn to glass. Jan Friedrich worked on the cold working for this piece. A lot of people know Jan Friedrich. So this piece was done in 2 pieces and brought together, laminated, and then ground and polished. It is made from uranium glass, which does change color depending upon the light. It's really extraordinary. They're almost like little mini universes when you pick them up and you look at all the individual striations and bubbles, of which he can eliminate in the glass, but chooses not to because he wants your eye to stop at each little bubble rather than go through the piece. And so some of the pieces are more optical. This is a little bit less optical. But again, just a brilliant, brilliant artist, a brilliant human being. And he's going to go down as one of the greatest artists who have ever worked with the material.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. It was a great presentation.
Can I tell a quick story, Aaron?
Sure.
So when I got really serious about glass art, I had bought a couple pieces from Jitka Pokorna, who had a gallery, a Czech woman who had a gallery. And so we went to Prague and she took us around to see these various artists. And Siegler, like you said, Corey, was just the most gentle, warm human being. I think his wife had passed away. This was about 15 years ago. And so at the end of the visit, and he had a translator, he told us that he wanted to give us this lovely book of his wife's paintings. And, you know, tears are coming out of my eyes. It was just such a generous gift from this, as Corey said, brilliant, brilliant man. I'm sure lots of people have similar stories, but the man's wonderful.
Thank you, Howard. I appreciate that. Yeah. Oh, Marta Klanowska. Corey and I have been reaching out to Marta over the years to try to get work, and this year we were successful with 2 poodles, one blue, one green. And if you ever seen her work in person, they are just absolutely what draws your attention in a room. Every piece is made with glass and steel and laminated together, and they're very, very, very fun, and they're eye-pleasing, and she sells out of her work so fast it's impossible to get them. So we were honored this year. We have 2 in our exhibition. Both of them are currently with Marta in her studio due to what's going on in the world, but both are available, and I believe the blue one's on hold. But
we've done very well with her work over the years. Also, you know, Barango puts on every 2 years this glass stress exhibition, which is in his facility there in Murano. And he asks her every year to make a piece, and she makes very few pieces a year. And she, again, one of those artists that just does it all by herself. We even offered for her to hire a couple people just to help her cutting the glass, but she refuses. She wants to do the entire process by herself. And she is I think, an incredible artist. So we followed her, and museums are very much interested. I know that the Corcoran's Lynx ended up at the Corning Museum, and Fennec, the fox that we just had, ended up at the Flint Institute of Arts. So she is, you know, the museums are active in collecting her work and interested in collecting her work. If you don't have her in your collection, she's somebody to definitely look at. I'm sitting next to one right now, which is a monkey. You can see that right there. Oh, you can't.
Race blood.
But these poodles, you know, are spectacular. If you look at this, the movement where she's emulated the glass into what looks like hair or fur, you know, going in different directions and using a multitude of different colors. Even though this is green, there's a lot of yellows and blues in there that you might not see right away because your eye automatically goes to these greens, but she's used that to create texture because not one dog is just one color. Even if you have a black dog or like me, I have these little, I call them peer and pooer, and because that's all I'm doing all day is cleaning up pee and poo. But they're Yorkies, and they're a multitude of different colors. And I think she's captured that very well in both this blue, a green and blue poodle. Do you have the blue poodle up?
No, I just included the green one. The other one's on Glass46. You can see him there.
Yeah, the green monkey was actually Ferd's gift to him on his 18th birthday.
Actually, on my 18th birthday, I ended up getting a Barry Sautner.
Oh.
It's a true story. Aaron has one as well. So, you know.
I gotta get this family.
Aaron, what's the other color of the poodle?
It's shades of blue. Yeah, different shades of blue. I don't know if I can find it real quick and show you while I got it up in front of me.
Yeah.
You see, it's.
So to give you an idea how long these took, they took over a year to make.
Crazy.
Yeah, isn't it crazy? And it's sad to break them up. You know, that's the tough part. It's like because they work well as a pair, but you know, it's you got to find somebody that's got two poodles that really but they're really wonderful.
All right, thank you, Coach. Next one is Wilfred Gruten's. The work you've seen for years is cube work, almost about 9 by 9 by 9. Beautiful work. These are done with lamination and hand paint, and a lot of times they appear on Lazy Susan. Many of you have met Wilfred at our shows. He's doing also flat panel work now, so you'll be able to see him in the near future, but I wanted to share one of his pieces on Glass48. This was the little tin we showed in the last presentation for ACG, and it has since sold. We had about 2 or 3 people who were chomping at the bit for it afterwards, so there are great deals out there on the secondary market as well. This one has found a home and it's being sent to the client as we speak. And Harvey's work is always in demand. Another example museums are looking for. So he's definitely a necessary part of everybody's glass collection in a variety of styles. We also have this piece. This is still available at the gallery, elliptical section, 2 parts that stand next to each other, and another beautiful work by Harvey.
And I should mention, I'm currently looking for a crown. So if you come across a 12-piece set, we're looking for it.
There weren't too many of them made.
There's one at the Renwick in DC, but I think it's heavily guarded.
Yeah. Oh, I would send you there, Howard, but thank you.
I'm the guy to send. Yeah.
This is a different Zoom. We're not talking about that kind of stuff here.
The Jewish kid.
Noel Hart's newest work. These are quite large. This is almost 30 inches tall. Wow. Inspired by different types of rare birds and the natural wildlife. We have 3 of them on glass48.com. I think there's 10 of them on habatat.com. And they're just beautiful lessons in color. It's always interesting to see how an artist can make different colors of glass work together. Because a lot of times when glass is used, they have different melting points or different levels of ability to coexist. And obviously Noel is a master of this and has created some beautiful things. So definitely check them out. And they are much bigger than they appear. This is Bernadette, excuse me for messing this name up, but I'll say Hedjavari. These works are about life and about objects in life and about how objects we see and take for granted could have different attributes to them that we don't know about. And this is new for us this year for the Glass International. This piece is, I believe, just called simply Black Still Life, and there's another one called White Still Life. Something we found that was very, very interesting on the cutting edge of something we've kind of seen before, but she's taking her own spin on. And they kind of look like on top, like they're part of a relic, while on the bottom, a shadow once was. And I'm a big fan of her work, and I'm looking forward to seeing what she creates in the future. Paul Schweiger, I love Paul's work. He's a master of blowing and carving glass. We showed him at the International a couple years now, and then about a decade before, and he reached out to us. He couldn't get professional photos together, so he went to the beach, and he put his artwork out for us to get some images that are on the Glass48 page. And every piece of his is a masterpiece and just seems like he is so successful at carving at such the highest level possible to create such beautiful things. And so we wanted to share them with you today. And if anybody has any thoughts, just jump in anytime. Tomas Halvichka's work, we've been representing him for, I would say, probably 25 years, maybe more, showing some beautiful examples of his foils. And the secret to his foil is that the gold foils are actually silver, and the silver foils are actually gold. And during the fusing process, the color of the metallic material changes. And so this piece actually has silver foil in it. And these seem like amazing treasures. And we've been representing him and selling these works for a while now. And every work is just at a perfect level. His father-in-law was Pavel Halava, which led him into the career of retiring from being an architect and going into glass. And it's just amazing stuff. Michael Janis. Michael, are you on the video? I think you're right there.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the architect who changed to glass, that's my background as well. But I do drawings, and I like using crushed glass powder to make my figures. And these pieces that I have for the Glass48, I wanted to really convey a lot of emotion and feeling using crushed glass powder as my drawing basis. And I wanted it almost to be that you can really see how they feel within these pieces. And this one is called Feels Like I'm Dreaming. And I just like the idea that we're kind of feeling disconnected to a lot. And we're disconnected from each other. We're disconnected from the environment. We're disconnected from our normal world. So it kind of is by default a commentary on our current state. And, you know, I just have this whole thing of how within where you might have a calm face that's presented to the world, there's actually a lot going on within the piece.
Thank you, sir. These are well mounted and they're quite substantial at 60 inches tall.
Yeah.
I've watched him make these, and I've watched him make these for years. And I should, as my studio mate, think I'm used to it, but it's astounding to watch what he does. You can't imagine how difficult it is. And even though I've watched him low these 15 years, I'm amazed every time he does one.
It's a thing that you need a nice quiet studio to work in. And when you're working around Tim, it's hard to have a nice quiet space. That's why I think—
Get over it.
That's why when we do the collaborative pieces, it's kind of nice because it's like a little bit of frenetic action, and then I can be quiet in the morning and work on separate components.
Coming soon, we're going to have a TV show called Tim and Michael. It's coming to your cable box after Tiger King.
How much paint did you use to make this piece?
How long, are we saying how long did it take?
How much paint did you use?
How much Frit powder?
No, paint.
No paint.
It's all— this is all just crushed glass that I push around. So it is just different frits for the hair, for the eyes. I mean, there's a lot of process that goes into it because I'm first starting with black frit, and then I'm slowly, after I fire those panels with the black in, I start coming in with other colors, the browns, the reds, the pinks, all the colors that make up the skin tone. So it's a number of separate firings, and each panel is quite large. So I'm using our largest kilns to do each one separately. And a lot of times I'm trying to, since I'm breaking up the image into 4 sections, making sure that I'm not too heavy-handed in one, or that if it is, that it works with the other panels adjacent to it. So there's a lot of firing and then evaluating how the next panel is going. The dress part of hers is actually used with glass that I've cut out and then fired on separately. So that vibrancy of color is a separate glass thing, and I did a tack fuse, so it does have a dimensional feel to it, where it's actually just slightly raised to the figure study as well.
How long did this take you?
This one took me a few, probably about 3 months. And I work on it every day in 2 kilns, because we only have 2 large kilns. So one piece in each kiln is going, but it's a number of images that are layered on, and also just each firing gives that density of color a chance to really come through.
Thank you, Michael. It's an amazing piece.
Who was the model for that?
Well, it's a little bit of a hybrid where I'm using eyes from one of our studio coordinators who's since moved on, and then just the figure. I'm just saying the neck and the hair can be anything, so it's just a conceptual hair. It's an idealized version.
Gotcha. Well, thank you, Michael. I appreciate your insight. All right. Richard Jolly's work. Everybody is well familiar with Richard. He sent this new piece in for our international. A beautiful piece called The Global Thoughts, which is probably topical for today. Using his gold glass, I guess it would be, and different tones of the water in the circuit. This is just a beautiful example of Richard Jolly's work. He also is doing a small fundraiser you may have seen online where he is offering these little blue bunnies with masks on that are designed to raise money for food banks. And a portion of the sale goes to the food banks, which is very, very nice. And we have sold, I think, 1 or 2 raising money for food banks, and you can see those on the limited page. Bill Queer, he worked with glass for a while back in the 80s, I believe, maybe in the 70s, and then stopped and then came back again right about the time when I started working at the gallery in 2005. And Bill's a great artist, and I think I incorporated a video in this so we can watch a little bit about him right now.
I'm going to do a little demonstration so that people can get an idea of the process involved in making these sculptures. I'll lay a little design, a simple design on the glass, and then cut it out in the sandblaster. I finished my ornate squiggle on the 1/4-inch glass, and then I've had to put the rubber on the other side because I will be blasting it from 2 sides. So we'll cut this completely away from the background in the sandblaster. About 3/4 of the way through the plate, and you can see where it's gone through in a couple spots, and now we're going to flip it over and cut from the other side. Okay. And there's our freeform glass squiggle.
So I wanted to give an idea of what he does because I didn't know until I saw this video how he comes up with his style and technique. It's very impressive. And you can see the dust just pour out of the machine when he opens up his door.
The silica police called and want to know where his respirator is.
Yeah.
Glad you guys got to see that. John and Katie, you guys online right now?
We are.
We're here.
All right, guys. I see you got one of them in your shot next to you. Would you like to talk about your piece, please?
So we've been really excited by these pieces because it's the first time we've really incorporated motion with our work. And it gives you a totally different feeling when the piece is moving. It changes what you're seeing. And I think it makes you react and connect with a piece in a different way than you would if it was something that's static.
They hold a bit of mystery. They move in ways that are unpredictable. The spheres are floating inside of each other, and they hold that kind of life energy, universal energy.
I think you can probably see this one that's next to us here with the light. We'll move it in a little bit forward and start it turning. Part of the other thing that we really love about this, so we spent a lot of time thinking about if we were creating motion in a piece, about the type of motion we would want to have. And when we blow these pieces and make the components for it, we purposefully have weighted one side of the spheres, and what that causes in an oscillation in the motion, so you don't get a consistent movement, but the movement changes as time goes by.
One of our sons who's in aerospace said it's almost a perfect example of chaos theory.
And it also, these pieces have been really fun for us because we're connecting a body of work that we've done in the past with something we're doing right now. So the pieces that were the hands that were holding the cut forms, if you think about those, those pieces had a central energy in them. And we've been able to translate that into a larger piece and take it to a totally new dimension. And for those of you who know us, our family spends a lot of time outside. And when our kids were little, we would take them out to look at the night sky or to look at, you know, the things in water in a pond. And so our pieces really reflect that curiosity and wonder about what's at the center of life and energy.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much. You can see the one next to them. We have one at the gallery, and I look forward to seeing more of this work in the future. So they can be LED lit from the inside and
yes,
from above with the light. So it's quite an opportunity to display these beautiful works in different ways. Thank you guys so much. This is Krista Madison. She is newer to our gallery. We've shown her maybe a year or two, heavily influenced about nature and especially wildlife and cohabitation. And they are very, very colorful. They're very peaceful pieces. You can see a detail up close of some of the casting she's done on this particular work. Someone to keep your eye on for the future. She worked at Corning for many, many years, I think maybe as their lead gaffer or something. Someone could correct me on that, but she is an enormous talent and going to be around for a while. So if you like very literal works, she would be someone you'd be interested in. Michael Taylor, Positron 3. Michael has been working with glass for, I think, forever, since glass was invented. And glass, he makes some beautiful, beautiful things that are heavily designed as if he's a mad scientist who loves math. And he works in all shapes and forms. And this particular positron is new for our show. And there's more images of it on Glass48. And if you really enjoy this kind of aesthetic, which some people really do, he's someone that you would want to find out more about, and he is an amazing talent that we have here at the Habatat family. John Miller. So John, we had a client interested in this box of fries on glass48.com, and it's sold. And this particular piece has found a home. This piece was in John's studio, and he had it, I think, he has a really fun area where he displays his artwork with some restaurant booths and whatnot. And so I had a client who bought his limited piece you can see next, which is on habatatlimited.com or habatat.com limited. And he was able to he sold half of these so far. We sold 10 of them from the limited edition out of 20. And the client loved the work so much, he bought this 34-inch tall collection of fries that are inside of a metal container that are going to be sitting on the client's dining room table forever. And it's great how one thing can lead to another. And this client really enjoys John's work, and we've been showing John for a long time. And they're honored to have him. They're very, very fun. But these fries have now found a home. Well, here's John's work. All right. and thanks to Regina for putting that together for me. Nick Mount, Australian artist, beautiful, beautiful forms he creates, very peaceful work. We've been showing him for probably a decade now. He makes these usually forms with vessels that are almost recognizable, but not, and they're very, very refined. And he is he does demonstrations and participations at Corning. He did collaboration work with Richard Marquess a couple of years ago. So just is a great example of his work, very clean piece that I thought people would enjoy.
Good, because it's not comfortable here, but no,
Kathy Cahey. This is a piece we have at the gallery, believe it or not, a large installation work. And the other show I showed a smaller piece. This is a more large scale at 65 inches wide, wall mounted. And she has some great videos showing her process on glass48.com. And she starts off her talk describing how she receives instructions on how to treat the glass, and she completely ignores them with the materials she's using to get the look she wants. It's a great example of an artist having a vision. And in the last talk, I talked about how she was kayaking, and during her kayaking adventure, there was a storm, and a sheet of glass, like a wave, came at her, and she huddled down in her kayak to, not get knocked over by this wave. Well, months later, she was awoken from a dream where she saw that sheet of glass that she experienced while kayaking, and it led to this body of work. The sheet of glass and the drops and the experience she had really affected her as an artist to this beautiful body. Anybody have a question? Kathleen is here. I know I saw her earlier. Are you still around, Kathleen?
I'm still here. Yeah, hi.
All right, great. So I included both of your pictures if you want to talk about them.
Thank you. Yeah, I work in series, and this is a brand new series. These are glass uteruses. And the series most basically is about empowering women. And I grew up with a really abusive predator. And I've been for years trying to figure out how to talk about that in my work without being either morose or whiny. And this series was born when the current administration began cutting women's reproductive rights. So I'm really speaking about empowering women and giving us the choice to direct our own lives and have power over our own bodies.
Thank you.
This one is called "Why Are Men Governing Women's Healthcare?"
Yep, there's some videos that Kathleen also did that are on glass48.com. And I think I incorporated just a spinning video of this piece that people get an idea of the work from all sides. If I can get this into play. Here we go. Thank you, Kathleen. It's always great, too, to have the 360 of the artwork. And I figured more and more work is going to be on display like this as we continue our efforts from our homes and showing artwork to people who can't physically see it. So thank you so much.
Great title, too, Kathleen.
Thank you.
Yeah, really
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is stuff on. Was there any questions for Kathleen before I move on to make sure I don't miss anybody? Okay, making sure.
Send them some love your way, babe.
He thought it was, but I couldn't tell.
So this is work by Stefan Paula. It's on display in Sofa Chicago at Habitat Prime. And it is a massive column of cast glass, and I have a detail up here. These two artists, Zora Palova and Stefan Paula, are husband and wife who live in the Czech Republic. Slovakia, thank you for Slovakia. You've been there, Kevin. Who create these monumental glass sculptures, and they do not hold back, are relevant of the times. They make some beautiful, beautiful things, and they really show the potential of cast glass in their own style. And I'm sure I could teach a whole dissertation, and probably Ferd and Corey could, about these artists, and they are some of the best working in the material. And if you don't have a piece in your collection of theirs, there's some to choose from, but you should definitely really consider their work.
He's like a mathematician, by the way. And so, you know, each one of these pieces, you really have to really study the casting on his work. She is more about inspired by wind and water and nature and the inorganic or organic material. He is 100% mathematical. They have completely different. They're like the yin and the yang. His mind, he uses a completely different side of his brain. So when you look at this, you'll see as you spin it around, the inclusions, the casting, it's hard to get your mind around how it was created or even why it was created. But essentially, everything is a math equation with him. And so this is extremely meticulous. So it's a must see. We're only seeing really just one angle, but if you flip it around, you can see that it's almost like these bars are suspended within the glass, which is really incredible. So you know, if you're going to monitor him, and also we did say Slovakian, but he did study in the Czech Republic. So, you know, now that in 2 different countries, it's a little bit different, but they currently live in Slovakia.
Thank you, Corey. Appreciate the insight. This is David Patchen. We had him at our last international show and sold a couple of pieces of his work. I wanted to show this particular piece because for 2 reasons. One, David is a master of the color in glass. Every piece he makes is a masterclass in color. It goes back to what I was saying earlier about how certain colors of glass don't work well together. Well, he's figured it out. His form is not as important as the colors and tones that he uses. He wants people to really get close and experience the different types of marini that are used to create his beautiful sculptures. And he does these bloom pieces as well, you can see on Glass48. But this particular one is very interesting because it glows in the dark. His glass has some kind of magical parts to it that are able to absorb glass and then illuminate it back in the dark. Something fun, something different, and he wants people to be able to see some of his talent with the lights on and the lights off.
What I'm most excited about the work is the fact that we're watching these Americans take on this Venetian technique of pulling cane and making these marinis. And we saw Dick Marcus early on, and then, of course, Richard Ritter learned how to pull cane with Dick Marcus, and then you got Stephen Powell with his ideas behind the marini. But David Passion is like the new taking ideas of this marini technique and really coming into his own and making it his own, and which we can see in some glass, the glass that we have here at Glass48.
I saw a picture of this on another site where he describes this as a piece that he made during COVID, so that he felt that this related to that. Don't know if that's what he did, but that's what he said on another site.
Gotcha. This is new for this year as well, Stig Pearson. Stig is a European artist. It escapes me where he's from. Maybe
the Netherlands.
Netherlands. Thank you, Ferd. I knew you guys would be useful. His work is a delicate balance. This piece is called Stacked Wood, and his other piece we're showing at the International, or Glass48, is also called Stacked Wood. And he's obsessed with balance in a way, and these works show his obsession in the fact that if one piece is moved, the other pieces would move as well. So at the moment in time this work is made, it is frozen in the current form of being stacked. That balance is what he's trying to display. He's got beautiful colors that he incorporates in his work in a very, very pure form. And the metal caging around the outside just holds that moment in time. So it's someone that we're excited about for the future, and you should check out on the Glass48 page. Petra Herbakova, this is Tomas Havlicka's daughter. And we showed this work at the Czech show, Czech Now in Sarasota, Florida. And we sold a piece, and the people who bought it, I think, are online with us now. But we're excited about her in the future. She works in a similar style and tone to her father, but in her own way. And she also makes, I don't have one on here, but she made these very fun, beautiful cars that look like they're ready to take off, but they're entirely glass. And someone to keep your eye on. She was actually scheduled to be part of our silver show, which we'll be working on next month, but the work was so amazing, we put her in the international.
I really love this. I really want to. So Halava's daughter-in-law, Zidinka, married Hilovichka. Halava means head, Hilovichka means little head in Czech. That's just a total utter coincidence. But when I look at Petra's work, it's a combination of both Hilovichka and her grandfather, Halava. So I really, really am drawn, I'm totally drawn to the work because I can see both of them and both of the influences that they've had on both sides of the family.
Yeah, I can see that.
Are those two pieces?
It's a single piece. It's one single piece. It looks like kind of like a
white. There's a white piece in it.
There's a white piece between the two. It's all laminated together, one single piece. David Reiki from the UK. He's got some great videos on Glass48. I recommend you check out. You know, he gives us a studio tour. His work is very subtle and humor, and we do quite well with his work. They're very, very interesting pieces. Always great conversation starters, and he is a very serious name in the glass world. We had him attend our international a couple years ago. I had an opportunity to meet him. He is an amazing, great guy, easy to talk with, and we're eager to show him now and into the future.
Just about every piece that he makes is about social commentary. So this one, Temptation of Lies, a lot of them have to do with the government. And so every time I ask him a question, what does this mean? He usually says, I can't afford to be political enough to let you know. So they might mean something, but we kind of take our own meaning of what they might mean.
Yeah, that's funny. Colin Reed. Colin's another one that has a great video on Glass48 of his process. This piece was just finished basically on May 7th, the day before Glass48 went live, Habatat Direct. And with the world today, he was able to send me a photo and put it right in the show. Red glass and dark glass, he has this beautiful form. You can kind of see up close the movement in the glass from his casting process. He does this type of work as well as the work where it's cast with objects inside that change as you walk around. But another master, another artist we have the honor of showing, and if you don't have a Colin Reed, there's probably one out there for you because he makes some amazing things. Tolan Sand, another artist that was new for this year for Glass48. He is heavily inspired by nature, and I think I incorporated a video of his right here.
Hi, this is Tolan Sand in my sunny studio in Carmel Valley, California. And I'm very pleased to be part of this Habitat Gallery event called Glass48. And I'm using this as an opportunity to introduce a new series of pieces of mine that I've been thinking about for many years. Originally, the images started with my 5 years spent in Athens, Greece as a young man. And the colors, the images, the Greek columns from the Parthenon and other places around Athens and around Greece, as well as the Greek faces and the illustrations that they have on them. So this is an attempt to use my palette to illustrate glass vessels that hold light in different colors, and I hope you enjoy them.
So you'll see there's a good variety of work on Glass48 from this series he just finished, and they are very stunning pieces of work, and I look forward to talking to you and hearing your thoughts about them. It's our first time showing Tolan, as far as I know, in this format, and so we're eager to hear your thoughts.
Quickly, I have a few of Toland's pieces. He's a really thoughtful, interesting man who is very spiritual, and also, since we've got Michael on the line, was very interested in architecture, and you can really see that reflected in his work, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. And I am impressed by this body of work, and I hope you guys are too.
Colin's had, a lot of these artists have had long careers, and it's really important to let you know a little bit about 48. Aaron and our staff created this website really to allow artists to be able to access the website, to put up content, new content over the next 3 months. But it's important for you to understand that this site, every year, the 49, the 30, every 50, every year, our content changes, the artists change, the work changes, because we look for the most interesting work happening now, not yesterday, but now. And so Toland Sand, with this new body of work, even though he's had a career over 30 years or so, we thought it's time. It's time to show us this. He showed us these images. Aaron got excited, sent them to me. I got excited. But first we owe this whole website and dialogue to Aaron. But number two, know that the art world always changes, and instead of staying stagnant, we change with it. And so remember that when you're going through the site and watching Aaron with this going from artist to artist.
Yeah, and also if you want to see the past too, on top of this, Glass 47 and Glass 46 are still online. So you can kind of see how this online presence developed and the choice of artists changed. So we hope to keep that going into the future. And like Corey said, this presentation will continue to grow for the next 3 or so months throughout the summer to make sure we give the best opportunity for the artists that we show in the Habatat family to add to their presentation, or to add work, or to actually be on the site. So it should be quite fun.
Thank you so much, Aaron, for presenting it. We appreciate it.
Most welcome. This is Mary Schaffer. Many of you are familiar with Mary's work. This particular work was very, very interesting in the fact that she was, I think she was at an estate sale, and she found this car part, which was a manifold, who knows where, inside this estate sale, and immediately fell in love with it. And it's always great where artists can find inspiration from. It could be walking along the street, it could be going through an estate sale, it could be looking on the internet, but and plenty other places. In this particular one, she fell in love with this piece of machinery, and she decided that she needed to make a body of work focused on this, and she actually did. And this piece is called Manifold, and it's brand new as of this year. It just shows you the talent of Mary, who's been working with glass probably since before I was born, and she is an amazing talent we have. Ivana Shromkova, and she's, I believe, in the Czech Republic, always does animals, and we've been representing her for a while, and she does some very, very fun and playful things. I know we've done a commission for people with her in the past. One of my favorites was a pig that was done for the Bendoffs, and she did an amazing video on Glass 48. Her daughter is a film student, and so she did a whole presentation about her mother's work. It starts off in English and ends up in subtitles, but it's a great visual to experience and see. And we have about 5 pieces on glass48.com of her work you should check out.
I love how literal the face is on this tiger. Usually they're more abstract, but I love that it's very expressive.
Yeah, definitely. Paul Stankard. Everybody loves Paul's work. He is a master paperweight maker. He is also very happy with me because we sold both of his works during Glass 48. I haven't given him the news yet, but I'm sure he'll be ecstatic. Both of them were sold from pictures online, and people are going to love, clients who own these now are going to love these works forever. Paul is an amazing man. I put a post recently on the Contemporary Glass Art page of Paul and I at the Corning Museum of Art for the GAS conference, maybe it was like 4 years ago, and just gave him kudos for being able to create beautiful things that have now found a home. Oh, it's a picture of Positron by Michael Taylor, obviously put in the wrong place, but it gives you a visual of the piece that was on earlier. Margit Toast's work, very, very fun. Pate Verre cast pieces. We've done really well with her. We've been showing her for a while now. Her prices have become quite reasonable in the last few years. So if you've been thinking about a work of hers, this would be the time. We've done commissions with her as well. I know we've done them with some of the people who are on our stream today. So she's great to work with, and she is just, she's such a refined talent that she should be part of everybody's glass collection. Bertolini, this would probably be a good one for Corey. You want to jump in on this one?
Yeah. These pieces are just riddled with symbolism. Bertil is in his early 80s, and he's the main designer of Costa Boda, which is a company, Costa Boda Orrefors. Again, in Costa, Sweden, which if you've been there, you drive 3 hours from Copenhagen through nothing, absolutely nothing, to get to this small village of which they have about 600 glass handlers working in this large factory, creating a number of pieces. He has carte blanche. Through management, he's able to, he has turned this 100,000 square foot space into his own studio. He can work in these different areas. And, but, you know, he was inspired by a number of things. This is a map. You can see the symbolism of a home with somebody that's nearly invisible that could be there, not there. These heads, which I consider masks. When I've traveled there quite extensively, and when I talk to people from Sweden, they very seldom tell me their emotions, and I always feel like they're wearing these masks. He calls them brains, but I interpret them as masks. So there's really very little emotion on these faces that you see just throughout the map. Now, where do maps go? You know, where do they lead? These are the questions. He's inspired by the journey, the path that people choose. Time plays an important role in his work. So when you look at all these different symbols that fall into place, what do they mean to you? What they mean to him? You know, a map should lead somewhere, and X usually marks the spot. But this is a constant quest, his constant journey, and creating these pieces is almost like his therapy in a way. But I just love the you know, being able to stare at something for a long period of time, and being able to pull my own personal feelings towards that particular piece, and it changing as time moves on, as I change. A lot of pretty objects that just sit there and you see them and they're beautiful, and then you put them away and they become furniture. Pieces like Bertil's have never become furniture. I own 5 pieces myself. Not saying that, you know, you should own one because I own one. I own them because they mean something to me. And so if you ever find one that you can connect with, I think it's an important thing to enhance not just your collection, but your life.
Thank you, Corey. Yeah, I love the color and tone of this piece with the blues and the reds. It just really draws you in.
What year is that one from?
Very good question.
1805. It's from 05. It's the 18th piece made in 05. And we have a collection of 50 pieces that were created since 1979 at the gallery. Are they currently at the gallery? They're not currently at the gallery, but they're in our possession. And they're either made at Penland, Pilchuck, Pratt, Haystack. I'm missing one. The Museum of Glass, MOG. And with the correct lettering, I could figure out exactly where this piece was made. But it's the 18th piece he made in 05 here in the States. So we took possession of over 50 pieces, all made in the United States, not in Costa Boda.
Thank you, Corey.
Sure.
This is a new artist, Kara Wassenberg. I met her last summer. She was connecting with me online and came in to visit me to show me her work. Her work is very unusual. It's a lot about the texture and the material. This particular work mixes glass and copper, and she's really drawn and inspired by nature and what you would find occurring in nature, not by man. And her work really has that tone to it. So I incorporated 2 pictures of the piece for you guys to get an idea of what her work looks like. There's more of it on Glass48, but she's very deep in with her artwork, and the fact that she wants you to understand how these materials are now part of each other. And you could find something in nature almost like this, but this one was made by man, giving respect to nature and the fact that things happen naturally. And they're very, very beautiful and peaceful pieces. We're coming to the end here. I appreciate those of you who have hung out with us. This is Albert Young's work, a Detroit artist. He helps us out a lot with the local events we have here at the Michigan Hot Glass and his studio at the Russell Industrial in Detroit. This is some of his newest work. These are very, very impressive pieces. He does cast glass mixed with steel, heavily influenced by urban society. And these have such a beautiful blue to them when you see them in person, and they illuminate with light around them. And he did 2 of them for our show. This is the first one called Burst, and the second one is called Kanji. And they are just, this one's about 24 inches tall, and the previous one's 19. And they are just simply beautiful examples of Albert Young's work, and he's very, very proud of them. And their price, it says $12, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be $12,000. Well, that wraps up our presentation for the video part. And I thank you all for enjoying and staying with us for this time. And if you have any questions, I have no other plans but to hang out with you guys.
I'd like to mention really quickly that we plan on doing this once a week. And the AACG also does a Zoom on Fridays. And if you're not an AACG member, I suggest that you join. It's a really great group where we do very similar situations where artists and galleries and collectors get together and we just discuss art. So they do their meeting on Fridays. We're going to be doing ours on Saturday at the exact same time. But it's a good chance for us just to get together and just talk glass.
Right, and it won't always be like this. We'll have different topics and different ideas, and we're always up for other ideas as well. And you're welcome to invite your friends, and hopefully have a chance to hang out with each other. And it's great seeing all your faces and having a chance to talk.
This was great.